All right.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
You too.
Last week we did record an entire episode, but I forgot to turn on the microphones. So here we are again, round 2, and we did just test the microphones and it sounded good.
Yeah, it's all
Sounded-
good. We
it
don't.
sounded
We can
fine.
only remember of a couple of things we talked about, so
Honestly,
it wasn't great.
it wasn't a great episode, so you're not missing anything,
Right.
really, truly.
Hopefully, this one is going to be spectacular.
Yeah, this is going to be good. But I will say that we recorded that entire episode, and it wasn't a lost trip because I went to your house. You're now at my house, but you gave me a bin of my old diaries,
Yes, I did.
which was amazing because I didn't realize that I had kept diaries like that. I guess I didn't remember how detailed I kept a couple of years at least, not as extensively as you did, but I basically spent the next 2 hours just reading all of those.
It was
and getting
fantastic.
lost in them. But since it is Mother's Day weekend, I thought I would read one entry that I wrote about you.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I should have kept this open too. It's vaguely sad. Are we okay with that?
Vaguely sad. Yes, we're okay with that.
Cool. We can dive into why it's vaguely sad after. I guess maybe not vaguely sad. It's just kind of sad, but sweet. Okay. 10:28 a.m. on January 20th, 2004. So I was 14. Last night I cried myself to sleep. I don't really know why, but I think it has to do with my mom. Last night was the first time I felt like this. I think it might have been because we had such a mother-daughter weekend. It was really special for me. We watched the perfect movie for each other. We also listened to the perfect music. I don't know what it was. I guess I just really miss her a lot. Some people don't understand how hard this is, but I guess I'll have to live with that. I'm homesick right now. Oh, I'm homesick right now with a cold. I've moved on. Yeah, I just thought that was really sweet and sad. I think there's some other stuff in here that might be actually too sad to read because this isn't a comedy podcast, but we don't want to get too deep. But but that was a rough time period
Yes.
in our relationship, and I just
Definitely.
thought it was so nice to see that I did actually love you and miss you.
It's nice for me to see that too, but that was a very hard time. It
Yeah.
was. I got a divorce from your dad and remarried very quickly, and you were living with your dad.
Yeah, so we didn't live together when I was 14, and my dad was also remarrying when I was 14. And it was a very intense time. It just was very stressful. And so I used to take the bus from Portland to Bangor in Maine. If you're from Maine, you know it's like a 2.5 hour
Right.
bus ride. But I would go
Every other weekend.
every other weekend. So some of these diary entries talk about like being so sad because I didn't want to leave your house.
I know, and that's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You did end up living with me for your junior and senior year,
Yeah, which I have
which
diary entries about why I made that decision too that are also my diary entries are not as funny as yours. Well, that might not be true. We
yeah.
are so well, should I get into after I read all my diaries, I reached out to my cousin Courtney, who also kept a diary pretty extensively, more so than me actually. And we met yesterday for coffee and read our diaries around the same time period. And it was the best time. It was so fun. So we're going to have her on the podcast soon. We need to reach out to her and plan a date.
That will be fantastic.
Yeah. It's like seeing her view on a summer and then my view on a summer. And we both spent time at our family camp and like had a crush on the same boy, and like we talk about it a lot, and we write to each other in each other's diaries. And
You do?
Yeah.
You literally write in. You
Yeah.
swap diaries.
Yeah, we wrote like little notes to each other in each other's diaries. Or like some of my entries are like, "Dear diary, it's very early. Nothing has happened yet, but Courtney wanted to write in our journals, so here I am."
Aw.
And so I just know we were like, I remember sitting with her at camp and we would just write together. So she's actually the reason I kept a diary through the summertime, because we wanted to be able to do this eventually.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
I didn't even think I was aware of it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that you were doing that.
Yeah. In summer of 2004, like 2004 is the year that I really like kept a diary most of the year, which is so funny. And some of 2005 and a little of 2003, that was like the time period in which like diary felt like
early 14, 15, 16.
Yeah. That whole time period I was like really heavily writing.
Which is so, I mean, you may not have thought about it at the time, but don't you feel like it was somewhat therapeutic?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it's so funny because Courtney and I were talking about how I often didn't realize like how I thought that I was never jealous of her.
Oh,
And
interesting.
like I don't perceive myself as like, when I think of that time, like we both joked about how we would be like, oh, did you hold so and so's hand, or did you, and like it was the same person, and then we would joke about that, like us just talking about it so casually and not being jealous. But there definitely yesterday when we were reading through, there was some jealousy in there, even if it wasn't like direct. It was like very subtle, like, yeah, obviously he likes Courtney. She's beautiful and athletic and funny, which is all true.
Would she have read that entry back then that you wrote?
No.
So
we
you
weren't
didn't-
sharing them.
You weren't sharing them.
Maybe
So-
we were like sometimes, but like there
Right.
are parts that I clearly did not write with intention of her reading
Or
them.
anybody else probably.
Yeah,
sometimes.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so fascinated and so happy that you kept a diary during that time, so you have that understanding when you sit down in the retrospective of it.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like, well, I know maybe you don't, but I do. When reading my diaries, I feel like I'm in that time frame.
Yes. I felt like I've been reading it all week and like deep diving into it, and I'm like, I just lived in summer of 2004.
Yeah.
Every moment. I even wrote like the mundane details, like, and Courtney did too, and that is the best part because it really sets the scene. Like, Courtney was like, I accidentally kicked over Uncle Steve's beer as I was walking by the Langlois camp and going up to, I was like, it's just so funny because it's so detailed, and like those mundane moments, I even noted in mine, like, I promised to stop writing every little detail of every little thing that happened.
You wrote that?
As if I'm like promising my diary, like I know I'm over explaining, but I like, as now someone reading it back, I'm like, I'm glad I wrote those things.
Yeah. Because writing with the details makes it so much more fun to read and remember.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't remember all those details, I don't believe.
Yeah. I will say the thing I've noticed the difference between our diaries is I clearly am not writing for someone to be reading it, where I feel like reading yours sometimes I'm like, you're definitely a writer trying to make it sound good.
It's interesting that you're
What's
saying.
happening to you
I'm
right
sorry.
now?
I'm sorry. It's interesting that you're saying that because I've really been going through my diaries, very like a deep dive of my diaries, because I'm working on some writing projects. I'm working on a memoir.
Memoir?
A memoir, yeah. And I don't think when I wrote those, I was writing those for myself. I wasn't thinking that I was thinking of myself in the future that they would be fascinating to read or interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was writing them for anybody else, which is real. And part of my reason for saying that is because I'm so open.
Yeah.
I am more open than anybody should be on the page, probably.
I do remember having this thought while I was writing that I was so scared you were going to read it. Like I didn't. Now I'm like, was that entry real? Was I just nervous you were going to read it, so I wrote something nice?
No, you didn't. No. Well,
No.
that's interesting. Isn't
I
it
know,
funny, though?
But I have had that. I do remember having that thought, and I have that thought now
And
when I write, where I'm like, if I'm writing a diary entry now, I'm like, I don't want anyone to read this.
That is so funny because I've been keeping a daily diary for the last couple of years, just since we started this project, really.
Yeah.
So that I can keep track of what we're doing, and it helped with figuring out taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty standard. Drove to Hilary's and we did a podcast and came back and stuff. But occasionally there's other things that I'm going to write, like maybe I'm feeling down or
yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not putting that in there because somebody might read that now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now
silly.
Yeah, I mean, we don't care about your modern day thoughts. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, true.
No,
true.
But that is funny because it does kind of it's like, it's just confusing now that we're reading our innermost thoughts on the internet for everyone to hear.
I know, ironically.
Yeah.
But I would not have read your diary when you were younger at all. But I always respected my family. As far as I know, nobody read my diaries.
I gotta say, I wasn't concerned about you reading it. I was concerned about other people in my life reading it.
But having said that, there was an instance where I once read somebody's diary that I never should have.
I did that too. You just unlocked a memory.
Yeah. And of all people to do that.
That is evil.
I don't even feel comfortable. Maybe at some point I'll tell the story because there's more to it.
Yeah.
But the only people, once in college, my roommates read it.
Yeah.
And I was so upset.
Read yours?
Yeah. Read. I don't know how much of mine they read, but there was some little scuffle about that. And one of my ex-boyfriends read it occasionally. And I do realize now that during that time frame with that particular boyfriend, that there were some things that I wrote differently.
Because
or
you were
left out.
Reading it?
Yes.
Yeah, see that?
But
that's the
ultimate
ultimate betrayal.
Right. It is the ultimate betrayal. Yeah. So
I've read stories of like parents reading their kids' diaries and saying they're entitled to it, which just feels like. So I don't want to just knock what I said because I too read a diary of someone in college. I will put the preface is this person was very scary and I had a bad encounter with this person and it validated.
Wow, I don't think you've ever told me this.
No, probably not. It's very traumatic. But it validated my feelings on the situation. And that person was no longer a part of my life. Yeah. Like it felt like he felt dangerous. So it felt like, and it actually reading his diary not only validated it, but made him a much scarier person. And it's, a friend of mine and I did that and I will say that I did regret it because you can't
unsee that.
Can't unsee it and you can't report really. Like it just felt like something that like this person made me feel unsafe. And then to read his inner thoughts and to validate why I felt so unsafe and like he validated that in his own writing.
Was he writing specifically about you?
About me, but about other people in my life too. And like, it was a very, very weird time. And
wow. I never heard that. That's scary.
Yeah. It was very scary and a very weird.
And so eventually he got out of your life.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
no long that kind of solidified. We were in proximity, so we had to be around each other for a while, for a year or so. But after that, cut ties.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, he actually reached back out. He reached out to me randomly a couple of years ago and left me a very long, scary voicemail. He is still a very scary person to me.
Wow.
But anyways, wow, this got dark.
Yeah.
But it unlocked that memory for me because I that was the only other time I've ever like secretly read another person's diary. The only other people I've read diaries, but not secretly, is you and Courtney.
So, do you? Let's see. I forgot what I was going to say. But I'm like fascinated by all this. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So even though it validated your really negative feelings or your negative vibes about him, you still feel? Do you still feel guilty about looking at it?
No,
Yeah.
because this person is a very bad person who went on to do very bad things, and I had a gut instinct and was also. I'm not going into too much detail because it's just I don't want to. And a lot of it is not my story to tell.
Right.
But he did something bad to me that felt like it could escalate into something much worse.
Wow.
So this is when I, as well as my friend, pursued looking further into this because we needed to feel like we could find some sort of answer and not feel like we were being gaslit about.
And you didn't write about this in your diary at the time, did you?
No. It's just something I've talked about with this friend quite often because it was weird. It was a weird time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had that experience.
Oh, yeah. It was just bizarre. But in this person wrote very detailed, and sorry about all the trucks going by. I had to open the window. I got a little too hot in here. But yeah, it was very, very bizarre. It was a very bizarre situation. But I think that is the only other time that I did that in a way that I really don't think I regret it or feel bad about it. I regret the feeling it made me feel because
it's like a betrayal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel
But what he wrote
good.
was betrayal. So
yeah. Well, you're entitled to write your own.
Oh, true.
Like I wrote things in my diaries, and Courtney did too, that we didn't mean. Like when
Right.
we had like the teenage like, I want to kill her.
Right.
when we didn't, but that's how we were letting it out. But I would say this situation was a little more different. A little more different.
It's weird. I have my grandmother's diaries, and they were pretty much like those little 5-year diaries.
Oh yeah,
where you
yeah.
had
I have
space.
one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you have space to write like just 2 or 3 lines.
Yeah.
And even reading that, which it's interesting, kind of interesting, but it's basically just very mundane things. But even reading that, I feel like I'm invading her privacy a little bit, or whatever, and. So it's a weird experience. And the same with my dad kept a diary from like 1977 or 78 up for like 20 years. And that's an even more different experience to read because he was having a hard time as he aged and so forth. And he was sad, as somebody is as they get older and more challenged with things. So, again, you feel like a little bit like you're violating somebody's privacy, even though he knew he was leaving those diaries behind.
Yeah, he's I mean, that's where you got it from. Or
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I I've never handed you one of my diaries.
No, yeah, that's so true. You won't. I don't have free reign over,
because there's a lot of
It's so funny because you and Courtney are the two people I probably feel the most comfortable with. And I think if I'm going to hand my entire diary to someone, it would be one of you.
Right.
But even yesterday, reading with Courtney, we had both written songs about the same boy. And it was like both of us had the reaction of barely being able to read it to each other because it was just so cringy. Like my face is still turning red. It's so embarrassing. Like I'm still embarrassed by that feeling of just having so many feelings. And you're like, I'm going to write a song. And I was dying because Courtney when she wrote her song, it said chorus ×2 here. Or it was actually well written, and then I moved a part of the song up. I was like, it would sound better at the beginning. And it's funny now because I'm like, why am I still embarrassed by this? It's
I know.
like not like it just reverts you back and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, there are people that there's no way they could understand somebody keeping a diary.
Yeah.
Probably the majority of people.
Yeah.
Like, I would be in college in the dorm writing in my diary, and people knew I had a diary, and they'd be like, "Oh, are you writing in your diary now?" Will you?"
Yeah.
And all of that, but they don't, and people don't even get why I have 42 volumes of my own diary, and I keep coming out of the kitchen to my husband Gil,
That's because she's mentally ill.
and I'll read him like a line or two from it, and
yeah,
he'll just whoops, sorry, he'll just yes. He'll just look up at me and listen and maybe ask me a question and maybe not.
Yeah. Like, we're well aware that no one cares as much as we do about, especially our own. Like, I was even reading my mom some from mine, and I was like, sorry, I just want to keep reading these. I don't want to, like, do anything else. I just, like, fascinated by my own little life that I don't remember at all.
I have a quote in my diary that goes something like, I wrote it, like, in the late 70s or 80s about my time in the earlier 70s or 60s or whatever, that says something to the effect of, I spent yesterday reading my diary from such a time to such a time, and it was so fascinating. I felt like I was reading a wonderful novel. Something to that effect.
God, we're embarrassing.
Oh God. Is that like one of the most embarrassing things ever?
Ew, we're still like that. Look at us. We're recording now just to talk about it. We're obsessed.
This is the height of narcissism.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's amazing. See, that's why I'm convinced that you wrote for someone to read it. Because you are such a good... But I think you were trying to impress your future self. Like, look how great of a writer I am. And
I always knew.
And it worked.
Like right now where I've started writing this memory about it, in the early 70s, mid 70s, my experiences, like it's so rich with details that I think I was writing because I knew I would write someday about that time period.
Yeah, I think probably that's true. It's so funny because I feel like I'm in a very like transitional period in my life right now. And it's almost like these diaries are like healing for me because I'm going back to this time that was very hard for me, but I'm like reading about really like classic teenager feelings and and like great days, just like having the best days of my life. And so it's like very cool to go back and see that. And not only that, comparing my diaries to what I've read of yours and like the similar experiences we had, and like not even, it's just the vibe of that age. Like I think so many people can relate to that.
Right, the
feeling.
same kind
It's
of
just
angst.
Like I'm so in love, or like I'm like, God, that person was being such an ass, or like just things that I don't know. It just feels like such a universal feeling, and like you're going through all these growing pains, and like you're confused, and like you don't feel great in yourself because you don't, like, especially at 14, at least for me, I was like, I wrote about how we went to meet this, I don't know if anyone's listening would remember Sky Sweetnam. She was like, I think she was like a Disney person, and she was 16, but she dressed like very punk. And I wrote a whole entry about how we met her at the main mall, and I was with Courtney and Laura, and we met her at the main mall when I was 14, and I was like, she dresses like me, an 80s punk. And like, just like thinking back of like, that made me laugh because I remember just wearing, like, I'd wear skirts over my pants and like 2 watches, and like I thought I was so punk rock, and like I just had no idea who I was or what I was. I still don't.
Most people don't.
Yeah, but it's just so like I'm like cringing for this poor girl who's like just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's almost like it's a different person, and you're reading. You're rooting on that person.
It doesn't feel
when
like
you go
yourself.
back and read it.
Yeah.
Or you want to say it's going to be okay.
Yes.
Or you're about to screw up royally.
To screw up royalty.
Royally.
But I was talking to Courtney about that yesterday too. God, we really need to get her on the podcast. But I was like, oh, I just like my heart, because there was a part where I was like, we played Truth or Dare, and the boy I liked had truth and said he likes Courtney, and I was like, of course he does. She's so beautiful and athletic and funny and pretty, and she's the kind of girl boys love, and I'm the kind of girl boys would never date. And like, I'm like, oh my God.
Did you really feel like that?
Yeah,
back then?
I guess so. I wrote about. I'm like, of course, and I'm like, I'm happy for them, but I am really sad and jealous. But I'm like, oh God, this girl has no idea. I wrote like a whole thing. I'm like, I'll never have a boyfriend. No boy will ever like me. Spoiler alert.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's very funny. And I wrote about crushes. I didn't even know I had those crushes. Or like Courtney was like telling me, reading an entry about, she's like, I wrote about this person named Danny. Who is Danny? I don't know Danny. I'm like, we have no memory of like certain people in our diaries that are so funny, because at the time, we thought like we're going to know these people forever.
Or at the very least,
no
you're going to
memory.
remember them forever.
Yeah, like not a single memory.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
She also wrote an entire entry about the bathing suit that got left in the van. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that on
bathing suit. Oh, that will be. Oh, I'm so glad she wrote an entry about that.
She has like 4 or 5 pages of that.
Okay. We're definitely going to go back to the
stay
bathing
tuned,
suit.
because that's a good story. Yeah, she didn't read me that entry, which I'm kind of glad, because I feel like
you like to be spontaneous with it. And
yeah. I was going through my diaries again last night, because I like kept finding things. I was like, oh, I wish I read this to Courtney, or like I wish I read her like these things, because we talk about. We found an entry in her journal that she had written, like Hill and I are writing in our journals together, and so I knew I had that entry somewhere, but I didn't find it until late last night, and I described the journal or diary that she was reading out of when we were just at coffee. I'm like, she got this little Paris wee diary, and it's so cute, and I'm so jealous of it. And she was reading, it was so funny, we were laughing, and it had an Eiffel Tower on it or something, or like a Paris scene on it yesterday.
Oh, we definitely need to get her on it and have you guys read a few entries and talk.
But it's so funny. I'm so happy that you had those. I had no idea. I had no idea that those existed, and also that you encouraged me to write. You did all the time, and I wish I wrote more.
Yeah, I remember when you started college, I said, keep a diary.
Yeah, I didn't.
So that we can compare our experiences. But
Courtney and I were talking about how I think between like 03 and 06, we wrote so heavily because we didn't have our licenses. Like, we were at camp most of the summer. We were able to just like we had that space and time to like, we're like, oh, we have so many emotions and we have the time to like do it. Then once we get our licenses and like got boyfriends and we're like out doing things, we prioritize that less, which I'm so bummed about, because I feel like oh man.
Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff
there's
that
a
you
lot
wish you
of
had written
stuff.
about, or
Tons of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we also started getting on the internet. Like that was like the time where the internet started becoming a thing, and we got MySpaces, and like we're probably writing these things on the internet.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah, which those
In
don't
retrospect.
MySpace doesn't exist anymore. So
Yeah, we hope.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
This went a little off the rails of our relationship for Mother's Day. But
No. I think it's good. I mean, I think it's like, I've been thinking about how to encourage other people to write diaries.
Yeah.
I think it's hard through the years, as I would tell people about how I kept a diary or whatever. It's like many people don't have the same kind of trusting relationships with their parents.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, people don't
right.
have
so they wouldn't feel safe
Yeah.
writing something because they would be afraid it would be discovered.
Well, yeah. I mean, not
And
to
based
mention
on what
like
you and I wrote, the stuff that could be discovered that you could get in trouble for.
yeah, but also like, I mean, not only parents. It's like people are in abusive relationships, or like people are in situations in which that a diary is just like an unsafe thing to keep.
Yeah.
And that's horrific.
And that's
it's so sad.
terrifying, yeah.
I wish there was like a way to create a safe space with like lockers where people can just come and write and like leave there.
Yeah.
Thing, but yeah.
I always still do have illegible handwriting. So although much of my diary is handwritten.
Emphasis on still do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. And I never felt that I wrote as well as when I was typing and then later on the computer.
Yeah.
So as the computer became more ubiquitous, I could just pound out my stories very quickly on that. You can go back and edit it. You can keep it in a, quote, secret file if you wanted to.
Yeah. But I still think people are not in situations in which that feels safe.
Yeah. And
I mean, the computer adds like a whole other layer of feeling unsafe, even if you're not in a situation. Like for me, I'm like, even if it's a hidden file, it still feels so vulnerable. Like someone could be looking for a photo on my computer, like, go look for that. And it just is there.
Right.
You know, they open it up and yeah.
Yeah, I agree that it can still make you feel vulnerable. But I think as a teacher of writing for all those years, I taught middle school for more than 40 years. Kids there was a time where I had them writing their own journals in class, which was a dicey thing and not something I would recommend that people do nowadays. It's just different. But the deal was I would write back to them in their journals, but when they wrote something they didn't want me to read, they stapled it.
Oh.
And or paper clipped it away, and I didn't read those sections.
Yeah.
And then I would write back to them, but it was really too personal and too intense in retrospect. You know, kids needed to write and talk about things, but sometimes they were writing and talking about things that were really, really intense. And of course, I always made the disclaimer to kids, not just because of the writing in the journals, but because I was their teacher, that if you ever write or tell me something that indicates you're in danger, I have to report it, and I will report it.
Yeah.
So, you know, there were a lot of different levels. But I think for a lot of kids, it was very freeing to be able to write.
Well, you created a safe space for them.
Yeah.
Where they didn't have that at home. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, some of them did, but I know for a fact that a lot of your students in that area probably didn't have that at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I have diaries from my second grade,
That's
grade,
right.
first grade.
I gave you that for Christmas last year.
And we found third grade this year. Yeah. My teachers, we did diaries. It was so great.
That was like to practice your handwriting and your sentences.
Yeah.
And
like, what are you doing this weekend? And she, like, my teacher would respond, like, oh, that sounds like a good time. And then, like, also, like, correct my spelling or whatever. Yeah. The one you gave me for Christmas, did we read some of that?
I can't
on
remember.
an episode? I don't feel like we did, but
I don't feel like we did either.
that is one that we should read because it's funny. I was like, oh, my friends are coming over, but I hope they leave quickly so I can watch Spice World and eat a snack. I was like, this is so me. Like, I want to socialize, but like, I hope they leave like quickly after because I want some alone time. Oh God.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we still have so much material
so much. Now I feel like I can contribute a little bit more to this project. Yeah,
you've been contributing right along, my
God.
dear.
Yeah, there's just so much. There's so much to talk about, and it's so exciting and fun. And I'm just happy to be recording it and have this here because there is just so much that to have it in this one spot where I can look back on it, or future people can look back on it if they're interested.
If there are future people.
If there are, yeah. Oh my God.
Sounds like something I'd write in my diary.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about you as a child.
Okay.
i.e., still today.
Yeah.
And one of my primary memories of you as a child, I have lots of wonderful, loving, happy memories of you. But one of the things, yeah, this disclaimer.
Thank you for the disclaimer.
I've set this up really weird.
Just so you know, I did love you. But
yeah, you can prove it in your diary.
I know, God.
But early mornings and getting ready for school were not your forte.
Hell.
Yeah.
Hell.
And like when you were 6 years old.
Oh, why didn't you finish that word?
What, hell?
No.
What word?
When you were 6 years old.
I did. I lost a letter. I lost a D.
Old 6-year-old.
And here we go. So, Hilary.
You lost the D?
Old.
I know. Okay, carry on. Talk about how awful I was. Keep going.
I was always running late in the morning. I was your stereotypical, scattered, frantic, overwhelmed.
This is my impression of my mom just through my entire childhood. But she has curlers in her hair. Oh, I disturbed my dog.
What do you mean? It made me sound like a...
That's what you were just like, I gotta go. I gotta do that. Hilary, do this. I need a Diet Coke.
That was quite the impression. At any rate, I'd be running around in the morning, and I think if you were still sleeping, I'd wait until the very last minute to wake you up.
Yeah.
Because it was difficult for you to get ready in the morning. You were not a morning child. Just
Carry on. Keep talking about how terrible I was. Happy Mother's Day. I'm giving you the space to do this.
It's what every daughter should give her mother.
Yeah, roast me. That's fine. Just today.
Mother's Day roast.
Yeah.
All I wanted to say about that is that you were tactile defensive.
Honestly, still am.
Yeah.
There's certain like fabrics. Like I wore a cotton shirt the other day, but it was so thick, and all day I was so uncomfortable. I was like, this is not the right kind of cotton. I can't be wearing this. It's too stiff. It threw off my entire day. Also, I'm not wearing any of my rings because all week I've felt overstimulated by having them on my fingers.
Oh, I thought maybe your hands were bloated.
Well, that might be true too.
I thought that was going to get a bigger one.
Oh.
So, because she didn't, and I didn't understand like somebody being tactile defensive at that point, I just thought you were being
TD.
Yeah, you were. I just thought you were misbehaving or whatever in the morning.
Or whatever. This is why it took me 33 years to get diagnosed with ADHD. Like, it's just your personality. You were just hell in the morning. That's just who you were. Ma'am, I needed help.
Sorry. I would like to apologize to you.
It's about time.
I would like to apologize to you for misdiagnosing you.
What did you diagnose me as? Now, tell me.
Misbehaving.
Oh, yeah.
But so in the morning, first of all, she had to pick out her own clothes. And we were already doing yard sales back when you were 6.
Yeah.
And we were going shopping at yard sales for $1 a piece, and you were buying clothes, and I was buying you clothes. And
Yeah. That's where it all began.
that's where it all began. It is my fault. And so she'd put on something, and I'd have like 3 minutes before I had to be at school or whatever. Or 3 minutes before I had to
Honestly,
leave.
this all sounds like it's your fault. You're like, I woke her up as late as possible. And then she was misbehaving because I was rushing her. I'm coming out pretty good in this story. Carry on.
Oh my God, I'm having a revelation. I think you're right.
I am right. This is healing.
This is wounding. But you're right.
No, I know.
Be
I know I'm right.
Serious for a minute. I don't think I can be, but I'll try. Yeah, because I was distracted and I was not being.
You didn't want to deal with me.
I wasn't being the best mother that I could be at that time, probably, or maybe I was being the best I could be at that time, but it wasn't very good.
I'm
Wow,
just going to
this is
stay
going-
silent. It's Mother's Day.
This is going in a direction I didn't expect.
Well, you're doing it to yourself. I'm just here along for the ride. You thought you were going to roast me. Turns out you roasted yourself. And
I
that's
can't even cook.
it's about time. Wait. Did you preheat the oven for the roast?
Okay. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but so
I don't like that saying. Don't say that
I
again.
just want to finish this point.
Okay.
So it was really hard to get her to get ready to go in the morning. Now, it's funny. Memories are funny. It probably wasn't really hard every morning, but
All I remember from those mornings is you rushing me.
yeah.
And then me being like, feeding off of your energy. And being like,
Yeah.
then I'm suddenly like, ah!
That's probably right.
You want me to put on tights? Like, I'm scared. Oh my God. We should insert, I don't know if I have it on my phone though, but maybe we'll post on Instagram in the next couple of weeks. But the clip of me immediately removing my tights from my first day of school because I could not handle it. I was like, get these off of me. Which I'm still like that. It's so funny that like seeing your young self, you're like, I'm still yes, but
You're still defensive.
but there's a reason for it.
You're still tactile defensive,
I
etc.
Yeah, I'm TD. Without the bank. Sorry.
So, one of my friends at school, a teacher, a very calm, sensible teacher, said you need to have her make a Flat Stanley.
Mm-hmm. I remember Flat Stanley.
So you want to explain Flat Stanley? I'm not sure I can now.
Yeah, so Flat Stanley, well, I don't know where Flat Stanley came from, but I think a lot of people did Flat Stanley. Like, it seemed like it was like a universal
Like a
thing.
thing.
Like, let us know if you did Flat Stanley. But we apparently, because my mom has a picture, which I will insert here, of my Flat Stanley one morning. What's happening here?
Sorry.
You're
just
caught
awkward.
in a ruckus.
I'm all thrown off by this wonderful Mother's Day tribute.
What were we talking about?
Flat Stanley.
Oh, yeah. So, Flat Stanley, we made a head and arms for Flat Stanley, which I didn't remember that
A flat
part.
head and a flat arms.
Yeah. Yes, Flat Stanley. It wasn't Puffy Stanley.
Bloated
Bloated Stanley. That's what my fingers are right now. A bunch of bloated
Mine would be
Stanleys.
if I were doing this nowadays.
Bloated phalanges. Bloated Stanleys. Anyways, I would lay out an outfit on Flat Stanley, and Flat Stanley would wear my outfit all night.
Right.
And then I would put on the outfit that we had picked out. But did you find that helped my
Yes, I believe
My
I
TD?
believe that was kind of a sort of solution.
I feel like I don't do a flat Stanley anymore, but sometimes I'll pick out my outfit for the next day. Now, but I gotta wear what my mood is telling me to wear. So sometimes that doesn't really work for me. Now.
Yeah, I never know what I'm going to be wearing. But Gil sets out his clothes the night before.
Yeah, but you also don't care.
That's true.
I care so much.
Yeah, a little too much.
Yeah, I know. Well, not today, apparently. But I'm keeping it cash today. But yeah, Flat Stanley changed the game.
Yeah, it changed our relationship.
Made me behave.
It took Flat
It
Stanley
made me behave.
to change our relationship. Shouldn't that be the name of an essay on Huffington Post or something?
I think we honestly just had like a what is it? In therapy when you have like a realization,
A breakthrough.
A breakthrough. Yeah,
We just had a breakthrough.
we just had a breakthrough.
Epiphany.
Flat Stanley, an epiphany.
That's
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got confused. At first, I was like, "Isn't it an epiphany?"
Isn't that a what?
No, I thought an epiphany was like a like you're predicting the future. But I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. Don't come at me. You did it like That's So Raven when she's like an epiphany. Okay.
You didn't finish the thought, but I don't remember what it was.
You also have had a hair in your face this entire time. I can't.
Oh,
stand
thanks
it.
for telling me. We hold that.
Double mic. Double mic.
Glasses, Mike.
Shout out to Glasses.
Yeah, shout out to a guy we know named Glasses Mike.
You know him?
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like an ad break for Glasses. Yeah. You know who's going to be obsessed with you just randomly saying that is Courtney. And I can't wait to send her this clip. Okay. Anyways.
So we've had an epiphany or a breakthrough in our relationship during this particular
And all
podcast.
is well. We mended it. Everything's mended now. And happy Mother's Day.
Happy
That's your
Mother's Day.
gift.
Thank you.
Do you want to bring up anything else? Do you remember what we talked about in the episode we forgot to record or put the microphones on for?
I don't remember.
No, me either.
Yes.
We recorded that entire episode. I listened to the entire episode to see if I could salvage it, but there was no salvaging that episode. It was a train wreck.
Yep.
And sometimes,
And
yeah.
sometimes
they're a train wreck, and you got to roll with the punches.
you were the engineer and I was the caboose.
But
Sorry.
by the way, if you are an avid listener of our podcast, I do want to
Wait. Do we have avid listeners?
I don't know, but that's what
Maybe
I'm
one or
saying.
two.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe one, and it's us. We're watching it together after we record. But I just would like to formally apologize for not being consistent with putting this podcast out because she's been gone. I've been busy. But we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're going to do the best we can to keep doing it consistently. And now that I think we're kind of back in our rhythm now. So we're going to actually be able to bring you some more content.
Right.
And we also are planning on having, Aunt Lorna coming back for an episode.
Right.
My mom, we've signed on a former student of my mom's.
I can't wait until she comes on.
Courtney and my uncle are probably going to come on at some point. And yeah.
Maybe your brother?
Yeah, and my brother. We did try to record an episode with him already, but we all got into a fight. So it didn't go well. Mostly because as soon as my brother and I sat down with my mom, she was so scared of us being in a room together with microphones. She couldn't handle it.
It's true.
And then we were feeding off that energy, and then we actually got into a family fight, and everyone separated for a solid hour and took a walk. And then
you can look forward to us trying that again.
yeah. See, we're not perfect.
Maybe that should be our live podcast.
We're not always having fun. Yeah. Oh my God. Maybe that should be. That's a good idea. But yeah, we had big dreams of doing a play and a live podcast and all these things, but
We
I
still
think
have those dreams.
we're still gonna try to pursue that stuff coming up because we want to share this with everyone, and it's fun, and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Except for that one time we didn't have a good time, and I'm so sorry to my brother. He was not. None of us were feeling it.
None of us were feeling
None
it.
of us were feeling it, and he doesn't listen to this podcast either, so he doesn't know what he's missing.
That's right.
Yeah, we can talk trash about him all we want. Do you want to talk trash about him? You talk trash about me.
No.
See,
I don't want to talk trash about anybody.
just
Except
me.
for you,
Yeah.
apparently. But I'm glad to
No,
have
it is just on a serious note. I am just joking. Like it is funny. Like, well, I was silently suffering, and no one knew. But
yeah, I know.
but I didn't. I quite honestly didn't know until this year. I was like, oh, there is actually just something.
You mean when you get a diagnosis?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not just depressed. I'm not just flaky, and I'm not just like. It's not just my personality. I just have a problem.
Yeah, but you have a problem that makes you you, and wonderfully creative and thoughtful and friendly and beautiful.
Thoughtless.
No, and so I apologize for forcing Flat Stanley as your solution.
Yeah, I mean, it worked. That's the thing.
It did. I'm going to call on him for some other things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. He could probably solve a lot of problems in my life right now.
Yeah, just use him to
Yeah,
plan things out.
yeah. Do my finances.
Flat Stanley.
Yeah. You think he's retired though?
I don't know. You're giving me all kinds of ideas now.
We should make a Flat Stanley.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe we'll make one tonight, and we have to wear our outfits tomorrow.
We won't be making a Flat Stanley.
It's not that funny.
It's just funny that we're going to add one more thing. We get together for 24
she's
hours.
stressed. She's stressing because we got things to do. We got things to check off.
We got things to write.
Right? I didn't know I was going to be writing.
I need to write something.
About what?
I have a poem being published tomorrow
Oh.
that I thought was true, and it's not.
Wait. What? A fake poem?
I thought I wrote a true story, and then I found out from my diary that it isn't.
That you lied?
Accidental liar. Should I read the actual poem right now and then read my diary?
100%. 100%.
Okay, hold my mic.
Okay.
I wasn't planning to do this.
What should we talk about while she's gone? What should we gossip? Should we gossip about her?
So
She used to leave like little blocks of cheese around the house, but like one bite taken out. That's her. That's what I remember her. Little blocks of cheese and little Diet Cokes everywhere you looked.
I think it's listed in. Okay.
Wait, you need your microphone.
All right. So here's the deal. I wrote this. There's this Vine, VINE, Leaves Press, sends out a daily email if you're a subscriber with a 50-word story. And so people, it's micro fiction, it's called. So fiction made up. But I like to read, excuse me, sorry. I like to write micro nonfiction, little true stories, in case you didn't know what that meant. So, but I submitted this as microfiction, which is a good thing because I found out after I submitted it, I stumbled over the real story in my diary, and the details are very different. So here we go. The title of the poem, I'm going to call it, is Afternoon Homeroom, 1978. Wayne stabbed me with a penknife, Janie reports. He did what? She proffers her blood-dappled hand, period. I zigzagged toward the culprit, but the buzzer sounds, lockers slammed, students scramble, the classroom stills. Hours later, my principal phones. Janie's father says Wayne stabbed her? Oh, God, I confess. I forgot.
Can you repeat what the weapon is called?
Penknife?
What is a penknife?
Here we go.
Is it a pen that's also a knife? What? I don't. It's not funny. It's a serious question. Is that a thing? Should I know what that is?
Penknife is a small knife.
Why are you acting like I should know that?
It's like knowing what a spoon means.
No, it's not. A penknife?
It's a small knife.
So someone just got stabbed?
So Wayne stabbed Janie with a penknife.
Yeah.
In my story, and I thought this is what happened. And she showed me the blood on her hand, and I headed towards Wayne, but then the buzzer, and I forgot about it. Like in the space of like 67.
I would just like to note that this is why I have ADHD. That is the most ADHD possible scenario. Anyways, okay, I want to hear the fact check.
All right. So I did change the names in all of this, so they're not real names anyway. Shit. I just got a phone call from Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown is Janie's mother or foster mother. This is what she said. This is from my diary. I think it's 1982. I don't have the date here. I'm calling about the fact that Janie got stabbed in school today. Can you imagine? That's when I realized I'd forgotten it. I tripped all over my tongue as I talked to the woman because I'm a bit at fault here. I know this sounds a bit bizarre, so I'll calm down and explain. During homeroom today at approximately 2:30 p.m. and after the first dismissal, I was seated at my desk. There were approximately 10 kids in my room at this point. Janie said to me, "Are kids allowed to have knives in school?" I responded no and asked her why she wanted to know. Because Wayne had a knife with him today and he stabbed me. What do you mean he stabbed you? On the ankle. Did it bleed? No.
What?
No. Well, she didn't say no. She said not really. Now, so I got basic details wrong so far.
Yes.
Wasn't her fingers and she wasn't bleeding.
Okay.
Now, what I should have done at this point was look at Janie's leg. You think? There are a couple of reasons I didn't. First of all, I had other students who were trying to get assignments, etc., on my desk. In other words, I was preoccupied. Second, the second dismissal was called, and Janie left. And my teaching partner and I had 10 kids for detentions. That cracks me up all by itself.
Oh, my God.
We opened up the doors so I could watch the kids on her side of the room while she made some phone calls to parents. I was with those kids for that hour, and I completely forgot about this incident. As crazy as that may sound. The other reason I didn't really deal with it is because Wayne is one of the sweetest kids I've ever taught.
It's always the sweet ones.
That may have been why I forgot about it. I don't know.
Oh?
Anyway, I'm still reading from my diary at the time. Anyway, as I talked to Mrs. Brown, she said she was going to call the police, and what did I think of that?
Oh, I mean,
I tried to think rationally, but believe me, that was difficult. She went on to say her husband was a policeman, and he was not going to be happy about this.
why would she call the police if she has the police at home?
I don't know. I felt like a fool when I had to call my principal and tell him I'd never looked at Janie's leg. I could see this thing getting blown out of proportion. How can I actually forget that something like that happened? My mind must be in the clouds.
Oh, wow.
Period. And that's all I wrote in my diary about. I didn't even know I'd ever written about it. So when I came across, and
Okay, but Janie didn't seem that concerned.
and she wasn't bleeding.
Well, she got stabbed though.
Right. I mean, I'm not making light of the assault. I'm making light of myself.
Oh, I know.
Totally
I'm actually concerned
forgetting about it.
your brain.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what episode we talked on the podcast about when those mice were loose in the closet and I forgot about it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Same time frame.
They ate all the candy bars.
Yeah, well,
Same
they
time
didn't.
frame. Yeah, there was something going on with you that year. I'm glad you made it through.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
So, but it's a whole interesting thing about how your memory shifts. Like the essence of the story is true,
Yeah.
but if I hadn't written it in my diary, I'd be convinced the way I told the story in that little 550-word piece
Yeah.
was the story. But the story was actually that she got stabbed in the ankle with a.
I love that she was like, "Hey, are students allowed to have knives at school?"
I know.
No.
I know.
Why are you asking? I'm still stuck. I'm stuck on you saying Wayne was the nicest kid.
I
And
know.
that's why you forgot. That's correct. That's the wildest thing I've ever heard. You're like, I forgot because he was nice. He stabbed someone. Not that nice.
I have no words.
Where's Wayne now?
I have no idea.
Wow.
I have
Probably
no idea.
jail. Oh my god.
And as I said before, but I want to say again, all names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Well, Wayne is not innocent. I'll tell you that right now. And nor are you. And her name is Claudia Bondi.
I wonder about that whole thing. It's just so crazy. And nowadays, if that happened, some teacher would be arrested for, or not arrested.
Negligence?
Negligence.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I simply forgot.
It's actually, I think I'm more concerned because I could see myself doing that, and that concerns me.
You know, and it's such a, I mean, when you say that, it's such a big deal. Like, it's like, how could somebody forget that a student,
That a stabbing occurred in your class.
and you just carry on. But I think the other thing about that is people don't realize, and I know I'm atypical with my way my brain works, but people don't realize how many things as a teacher you are dealing with at once all day long.
I know that is true, but a kid got stabbed. Like, I have no doubt about that, but like, a kid got stabbed. Also, that kid just still had the knife. You didn't even like confiscate the knife. He could have just kept stabbing.
It was a penknife. Do you know what that is?
I still don't know what that is.
Well, we're gonna have
Should
to
I
do
Google
a
it?
little lesson. You need to Google penknife.
Maybe I'll put a picture. Well, no, I probably should.
No.
I won't put a picture.
No, we don't want to glorify the stabbing part.
Yeah. My Lord, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I hope that
There's so many layers. I'm thinking about so many things, but like this woman is she will not let me post a TikTok without fact checking a date. And the fact that you're publishing a poem that's just a lie is wild.
But I didn't. I submitted the poem a year ago.
I remember when you did it. I think you read me the poem.
Yeah.
When you wrote it.
And I said, this really happened. And that in
Spoiler
itself,
alert.
Yeah. But
I'm going to mail this clip. I'm going to email this clip to, what is it? Vineleaves.com.net. Where did you even find this website?
They're a writer's website.
Okay.
So, and it's great. Like every day you get a little story like that. And they're supposed to be fiction anyway. So I'm glad to say that I accidentally wrote fiction when I thought it was nonfiction.
We really need to start up that Substack.
Yeah.
Because I think there's something here. That's all I'll say.
What do you mean?
About, like, we could write about this. and add these little
Right.
stories and add little tiny mini podcasts.
That's what I
into
meant
it.
by I wanted to do. I was hoping that I'm not going to get to it now, but I was hoping to be able to write the story behind the story
Yeah. Wow.
because it's so nutty, and the fact that I apologized to. I don't remember.
Imagine
anything
being
about
that
it.
mom, being like, "What? You were stabbed at school today? No
And
one
you
called.
told the teacher.
No one, like no one contacted me. Imagine I came home. Like, Mom, I got stabbed today, but the teacher didn't care. And then you would be like, "Oh no, that's terrible," and then you'd forget to call the teacher. Never check on the stab wound. Oh wow, that's
Yep.
wild.
True story.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
On that note,
Happy
Mother's Day. I think this episode was pretty good.
Yeah, it went well.
I liked it. We didn't really talk about what we planned on talking about, but that's how it goes.
Yep.
And I love us for that. So, anyways, we'll try to record another one over the next couple of weeks. Are you picking your nose? And also, you did it with your middle finger. So, if you're watching on YouTube,
No, I didn't.
this is her. You did.
I was not.
First of all-
picking my nose.
First of all, you were just picking your nose.
I was not.
Second of all, you did it with your middle finger.
Well, if I were gonna do that, in
Anyways,
public-
happy Mother's Day.
the end.
The end. Okay, bye. Love you.